Hello connoisseur community, Jennifer here. In today's video, I am going to share my biggest dressing faux pas ever. It's the incident that changed everything for me, and it's not what you think, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the Daily Connoisseur. If you're new here, my name is Jennifer, and I'm the author of the Madame Chic series, which is a series of books that chronicles my experience living as a foreign exchange student in a 16th arrondissement Paris apartment. You've got to read the books. If you haven't read them yet, but you watch my channel, you've just got to read them because it's full of real life, hilarious stories and also deep insights into how we live and what I learned from my French family. So today I'm going to share my biggest dressing faux pas with you, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's one of the stories from Madame Chic, but it's actually not. It's something that happened after Madame Chic, so we're going to get into that in just a moment. Okay, before we begin, I wanted to show you my jewelry because this was sent to me by a Daily Connoisseur reader, Rachel Carnes, who has her own shop on Etsy called Rachel & Jewelry, and she does beautiful, modern, dainty, gold-filled jewelry pieces. All of them are handmade and totally beautiful. She sent me this gorgeous cracked glass necklace and earring set, and the earrings have a beautiful flower detail. I love her jewelry. It's feminine, it's dainty, and I love to support small businesses and true artisans like Rachel. So go check out her Etsy site. She gave us a discount code as well, so use the code Jennifer15 for 15% off. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so let's get into my biggest dressing faux pas. I have an iced coffee and I need a sip before I begin this story. So clearly I'm human and I have many dressing faux pas. I mean, I have a lot of them. I'm just choosing the one that really sparked change for me. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that it was a hole in the sweatpants incident in Madame Chic's Parisian apartment. That was also a dressing faux pas, but I'm not talking about that one today. This is something that happened after I got back from Paris. Okay, so let's get into the story. So as you know, I had this incredible experience living in Paris, and it was so life-altering and just eye-opening for me that I was kind of in shock when I got back to America because, you know, America, particularly California, is very different from Paris, the 16th arrondissement. I mean, it's really different. So I really found a cultural shock when I came back home. And so I had all of these ideas in my head. I just didn't know how to apply them. I was still in college in my final year, you know, as a senior, and I didn't know what to do. It's not like I came home and I had a 10-item wardrobe and I did lino makeup look and I had no clutter. You know, it wasn't like that at all. In fact, it was a process over many years of me maturing as a woman and thinking back to that experience. And I processed it in so many different ways. When I was in college in my senior year, I even did because I was a theater major, I even did a solo performance based on my stay with Madame Chic, and I wish I had the video for that because I would love to see it. Yeah, so I kind of just went into my old way of life because I didn't really know how to apply what I had learned to my new life. And I was in such a transition period as well, being in college, you know, just wondering what I was going to do when I got out. I wasn't married yet, I hadn't even met Ben yet. So, okay, so here we go. Cut to a few years after I stayed in Paris. So I'm in my mid-20s at this point. I was engaged to Ben, but we were not yet married. Okay, so I think I was about 24 or 25 when this happened. So at the time I was working, as you know, I used to do theater. So I was actually in a really cool theater company that did Shakespeare for children. And I toured around with our troupe and we did performances and we included the children in them. It was an awesome job. I loved that job so much. Didn't pay very much, but I loved it. And so one of the things that we also did was we went to schools and we taught them theater workshops about famous playwrights and famous plays. So I went to schools all across Southern California. Sometimes we'd go in a group, sometimes I'd go by myself. One time I went by myself and I went to a school in Southern California. I was wearing some brown tweed slacks that I had thrifted and a purple kind of t-shirt, I remember this very distinctly, and some sandals. And so I don't know, I don't know why I wore that. I wasn't taking my dress sense that seriously back then. But, you know, I thought, well, it's not jeans, right? So I wore, you know, I thought I looked okay. So I go to the school and I'm teaching the children, and it was a long day. You know, I'm there the entire school day, and it just more and more children come in. Each time the bell rings, I get new children. And at the end of this, by the way, I am just ready to collapse. I'm so exhausted. So I'm teaching all of these hundreds of children, and I thought everything went well. I went home, you know, done. So our theater troupe kept in touch by email, and Sam, who was our coordinator, who was just great, love Sam, he would always send out group emails every week, just assessing, you know, how the week went with all of us, because we're all independent. You know, we all kind of went to these things by ourselves or in small groups. So he sent an email, and the subject of the email was, "I love sexy people just like the next person, but." So I was just like, what? So I opened the email, and the email said, you know, the same thing, like, "Hi everybody, I hope you had a great week. You know, I love sexy people just like the next person." He said, "But it's very inappropriate to show your midriff when you are teaching children." And I opened that email and I thought, ooh, I was like, who did that? I couldn't believe it. I thought, and I was texting my friends saying, who was, you know, this person, who did it? We're trying to figure out who was the wardrobe dress code offender. And he wasn't going to say it. He didn't want to embarrass the person. But he said, you know, he reiterated, you need to dress professionally when you go to the schools. And so at this point, you know, I agree with that. And I did back then too. So I thought, yes, absolutely, you need to dress professionally when you go to the schools. You cannot show your midriff I mean, I was completely horrified, right? So cut to, I think about a month later, it was a while had passed, and we were at the Los Angeles Theater Center, and we were rehearsing for our new big stage production. I think it was the Odyssey, but I can't remember which play it was. And I was talking to Sam, and I don't know how it came. I think I just flat out asked him, I said, who was the person that showed their midriff when we were when they were teaching? And he looked very embarrassed and kind of like caught like a deer in headlights. And he said, it was you. And honestly, my jaw could have dropped to the floor. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, it was you. One of the teachers had complained that when you were drawing on the chalkboard, that when you lifted your arm, your stomach showed. And I was floored. I couldn't believe it. I actually was so upset that I started crying. I mean, I'm a very sensitive person, okay? So I was, and he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, Jennifer, of course, I know you would never dress provocatively like that, you know, for a reason. And obviously it was just a wardrobe malfunction. He's like, but as my job, I had to send an email out just to remind. And I was like, no, you did the right thing. And I was just so upset that I had done this, and I felt so bad and ashamed. And here I am thinking, oh, who was the person that did this, right? So that moment for me, because when I'm deeply affected by something, I'm deeply affected by it, and I can't stop until this problem is solved in my life. So I went home and I really started thinking about it. This was before I started my blog. But that moment was really the catalyst for me to start being thoughtful about what I wear, and realizing that what I wear matters. I was wearing these, you know, they were actually kind of high-waisted tweed trousers and a t-shirt. I should have tucked in the shirt now thinking about it, you know, but it was a loose shirt that was over it. And I guess when I was riding on the board, my stomach was showing, which I can't even believe this still, because I would be horrified, right? If my child was in a school and the teacher was showing their stomach, I don't know why. It's not appropriate. That's why they have dress codes in schools. So I went home and I thought to myself, you know what I wear matters, and I need to start taking it more seriously. And yes, I'm going to classrooms and speaking to elementary school students, but it still matters what I wear. They're people, they're looking up to me, they're impressionable, you know? And especially because the workshops that I was doing were really fun. So they really did look up to me thinking, oh, who's this new lady? What does she have to show us? It's so important how we present ourselves to our children, right? So I apologized to Sam, and I ate my humble pie because I couldn't believe that it was me that was doing that. And that was really the catalyst for me. And I remember thinking back to Madame Chic and just my life in Paris and how I wanted to change. At that point, I believed I was engaged to be married to Ben, and I knew that I wanted to enter my marriage in a way that was intentional and not just, flailing. I wanted to think back to what I learned in Paris and how I could apply that to my life. So then, the rest is history. I started my blog, I wrote my book and all of that. But that is my biggest dressing faux pas. Now, what can I take away from it? Because in Lessons from Madame Chic, I wrote about, the woman who looked beautiful. She was so beautifully presented. And then she had a hole in the seam of her pants, and you could see a big hole while she was walking. Obviously, that was not intentional, right? That was a wardrobe malfunction. So it's very important, because my issue was not intentional either. But it's important to see how we wear our clothes and to look at ourselves from all angles, from behind. Also, to notice when I sit down, for example, does the skirt go way up the thigh? Am I going to be uncomfortable with that? When I lift my arm, does my entire stomach show? There's a lot to think about when we get dressed. And that's why I like the 10-item wardrobe, because everything that you have in there has really been thought out. And you won't have these problems if you have a capsule wardrobe and everything in there is tested, looks presentable, and is thoughtful. There's so many takeaways to this. Of course, I have many other dressing faux pas stories. In fact, I'll just give you 2 more. You know the one about Madame Chic with the hole in the sweatpants? I talked about that in my TEDx talk, and you've just got to read the book to get the full story. But that one was major. Another very embarrassing one, and this actually happened recently when we used to live in Los Angeles and my daughter went to the school there. I was wearing my loft lace tee, which is see-through, and I always wear a nude camisole underneath, obviously, so that you don't see my stomach. So at that point, I was nursing my son, so I was wearing a nursing camisole that kind of doubled as a bra. And I thought that would be good enough. So I'd wear that and my lace tee, and I wore this all the time to go pick up my daughter. And I remember people would look at me kind of funny when I wore the shirt. And I was thinking, either they like it or they don't. I mean, why are they looking at my shirt? It's so weird, So then one day I looked at it in the full-length mirror in a different light, and it looked like I was just wearing a bra, because it was a bra camisole. It wasn't a camisole that went over a bra, and it was very provocative looking. It almost looked like I wasn't wearing anything underneath, and I was, again, embarrassed. So that's another dressing faux pas I have for you. I have many, many more, and we're going to have them. Nobody's perfect. But it's important to learn from these things when they happen. I would love to hear from you about this, and I would love to hear your dressing faux pas stories. If I have enough of them in the comments section, I can do a reaction video where I read your dressing faux pas stories. I think that would be quite fun. And if you wish to remain anonymous, you can let me know that as well. Okay, so that is my story, the catalyst to it all, and why I do believe that what we wear matters. See you tomorrow on the channel. I'm going to be discussing 3 more articles on dress, and they are good, so you don't want to miss it. And I want to thank Rachelin Jewelry as well for sending me these beautiful pieces. Don't forget to visit her Etsy shop and use my discount code down below. All right, thanks so much for watching today. I will see you next time on The Daily Connoisseur.